Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here again in another prenatal nutrition class sponsored by Healthy Mothers, Healthy Babies, Coalition of Broward County for the Moms for Wellness program, which is focusing on preventing diabetes and hypertension in pregnant women here in South Florida. And today the class is all about sugar, the truth about sugar. And the things that I feel are more important for you to know. There is so much information out there and it's so confusing. So I wanted to narrow it down for you so you understand things and can make your own decisions and can choose better, okay? So have you heard people saying that my mom or my grandma suffers from sugar, right? I love that. Yeah, or I suffer from sugar. I can't eat a lot of sweets. It's funny, but in reality, that term is incorrect. You know, sugar has become the evil like was at some point. Remember that everything was low fat, but as fat, not sugars are equal, nor they are processed the same way by the body. And this is what we get to understand, so we choose better. Remember that you can ask questions through the chat, and I will be answering. So I love this passage about Dr. Sears. So you know, my name is Chef Dulce Jimenez. I am a wellness chef and a certified health coach by Dr. William Sears Wellness Institute. And I am certified in the Lean Expectations program, which teach expecting women to have a healthy, energetic, and enjoyable pregnancy. And Dr. Sears says, the complex carbohydrates found in vegetables, in grains, and in fruits are good for you, and they are needed in moderation. And I want you to listen and remember the word moderation. The simple sugars found in sodas, candies, icings, and packaged treats can do harm, at least when eaten in excess. It is as simple as that. And many people said that, and it happened in our previous class, that someone mentioned that fruits are not good for diabetics, but in reality, they are good for you because they bring so much more. However, moderation is needed, and controlling the amounts through the day and maybe what times of the day. That's if you go through, if you're going through pre-diabetes or diabetic, then you have to be extra careful. But in general, when you are healthy and when you are pregnant, you need the nutrients that the fruits will provide you. So where does sugar come from, right? Is this sugar, the white sugar that we put in our coffee, or no? So food contains 3 types of carbohydrates: sugar, starches, and fiber. Carbohydrates, which are needed and is an essential nutrient, and you need it because it's a macronutrient, you need it the most. It's definitely, you cannot have a healthy diet without carbohydrates. They are either called simple or complex, depending on the food's chemical structure and how quickly the sugar is digested and absorbed in the body. So the type of carbohydrates that you eat is the one that makes a difference, right? Foods that contain high amounts of simple sugar, especially fructose, which are naturally in fruits, raise your triglyceride levels. And triglyceride levels are the blood fats, are an equally important barometer to know your metabolic health. So high levels of these fats may be associated with heart diseases and diabetes and a fatty liver. So that's one of the key differences, is that the sugar become fat in your body. So simple carbohydrates are digested quickly and send immediate bursts of glucose, which is energy, into the bloodstream. And simple sugars are found in refined sugars, like the white sugar that you put in your cereal or in your coffee, and the added sugars, including refined sugars, that provide the calories, but lack of vitamins and minerals and fiber that can lead to weight gain and illnesses. Okay. If you have any questions, remember, you can ask me through this chat. Okay, so let's go over some comparison between the simple versus the complex carb. You have a better understanding. Okay, so simple carbohydrates, they're like when you eat a donut, when you drink a juice, they're digested quickly and send immediate bursts of energy. That's why you see the commercial about Snickers, right? You're hungry, you're not feeling good, and then you eat a Snicker and you become an amazing person that you are. So it's kind of like that, that explains why we get a burst of energy after eating a dessert. But then that's what we sometimes miss, how we feel a few hours after. Sometimes we don't get that connection. Simple sugars are found, in refined sugar, like we already said, but not simple sugars are alike. There are also simple sugars that are more nutritious food, like in a fruit and milk. They're natural occurring sugars, and unlike refined sugars, these sugars often come with vitamins and minerals and fiber that our body needs. So, yes, you can probably have the milk, which is liquid and it goes straight, but you have more vitamins with the milk. And when you eat like a plant-based milk, you're also not getting the other effects that the dairy, the regular dairy can give you if you're lactose intolerant, for example. Okay, so comparing it to complex carbohydrates, they are digested more slowly. So when you eat a bowl, complex carbohydrates is when you eat a bowl of brown rice with some broccoli, and maybe you put a few tomatoes. So all those are carbs, but they're complex. They supply a lower, more steady release of the glucose into your bloodstream, as that with simple sugars, some complex carbohydrates foods are better choices than others. So same thing. So refined grains such as white flour, white rice, those has been processed, and many of the nutrients and fiber has been removed. When you eat brown rice, the grain and the bran, which is like the heart of the grain, and the cover. So when you eat brown rice, you're eating all that. But when you're eating white rice, you're not eating that. And some people rinse it. So you really rinsing any nutrient, they add it after, because they strip the grain of nutrients and then they add in nutrients artificially, okay? And they lack of vitamin B, which is an important nutrient. Again, some of them are enriched. Now everybody, put enriched vitamins in the package. By contrast, the unrefined whole grains retain naturally many of these vital nutrients that are rich in fiber, which helps you with the digestion. And when we eat, the food will go to the small intestine, and the small intestine, take all the nutrients and all the minerals and enzymes and everything that we need that are not taken already in the stomach is finished being absorbed by the body through the small intestine. So, and the fiber is so important to help you feel full and to have a better bowel movement. And also, you're less likely to overeat certain foods because they're high in fiber. That's why many people, and one of those, when I eat a bowl of oats with some nuts and fruits, which are all complex carbs, I feel fuller comparing when I eat the same amount of calories with a sugary candy. Plus, you're not eating all the other minerals and vitamins that bowl of oatmeal is giving you. So you're stripping yourself from all the other benefits. It could be the same calorie. It can give you that burst of fake energy, but you're stripping, you're missing out. Okay. So what happens when you have high consumption of sugars in the forms that comes, right? The sugar, the starches, and the fiber. So, but remember, we're talking mostly simple sugars because fiber is good for you. So when you eat these complex carbohydrates that have the fiber, that is actually supporting your system and your health. So when you eat these simple sugars, your immune system get compromised because excess sugar depresses immunity, sours the behavior, attention on learning. So the sugar promotes sugar heights. It promotes obesity. It promotes diabetes. It promotes heart disease because we already saw it. The high amounts of sugar or glucose in the body will also convert into fats. So, and it promotes cravings. When you stop eating sugars or simple carbohydrates, you start reducing your cravings for more. So that's why it's so addictive. So how much sugar is considered a reasonable consumption? So about 6 teaspoons of added sugars per day. That is nothing. So 4 grams is about 1 teaspoon. So when you see 8 grams of sugar, that will be 2 teaspoons of sugar. And believe me, that's the least I find in most products, packaged goods and candies and things. That will be the minimum, but mostly they're over 15, 16, 24, 18 grams of sugar in one product. And we're talking about 6 teaspoons of added sugar per day. And when you eat a fruit, you're adding those sugars. When you eat bread, you're adding those sugars. So an overdose of sugar is about consuming 100 grams, which is about 8 tablespoons of sugar. It is recommended that added sugars are less than 10% of the calories consumption in a day. Okay, so we see it here. Sugar gets, when this happens, you know, you reduce the ability of white cells to engulf bacteria. So that means that a 50% drop in the ability to perform as normal. And remember, the immune system is what helps kill bacteria and keep you healthy. So when your immune system is compromised, you'll be more prone of illnesses. And you don't want that when you're pregnant. Okay? So it also affects the kids with attention deficit disorder. This famous ADHD, I honestly blame it to the amount of product with so much sugar and corn syrup and other names that we're going to see now you find in packaged goods. This will give the kids and us adults high adrenaline levels for up to 10 hours after consuming sugar. No wonder there's so much hyperactivity and aggression and lack of sleep. So what happened when the body start also storing all this sugar? That's when start the obesity. So consuming these processed foods stimulate the production of an enzyme that encourage the body to store food in fat cells. So the whole body gets confused, right? So all these refined starches that we use every day, we're constantly eating bread and crackers and pasta and, you know, and rice. Those are an overload of sugar. And yes, the fat will make you fat, but the sugar will make you fat as well. Plus, you know, when you add your chips and your soda together, or your muffin and your soda together, so you could definitely expect to put some pounds. And yes, even though the fat has gotten really bad reputation as an unhealthy food, excess sugars deserve an equal bad reputation. But understanding that the sugar that are naturally in the foods that are meant to be eaten raw, like we discussed in the previous class, they're good for you when you eat them in moderation. But the other kinds of sugar are not good for you at all. Okay, so we have gone over this. I don't want to bombard you, but you know, it is proven that sugar promotes diabetes and heart diseases, but all those reasons that I already told you. And you know, simple sugars are all these factory made things that we buy. When you go to your pantry and you look at the label, I want you to do that exercise today. Find any product that is less than 8 grams of sugar. They're very minimal. So once you understand which carbs are best for your body, including which sugars are good for you, then you can indulge in small, sweet treats and dessert like we over last week in the class, and you can look at that video on YouTube, and you it's okay, right? You can have, like we did last week, we did a banana with some chocolate and almond butter, and we did some chia seeds with almond milk and coconut milk and dry coconut and pineapple. So we're having carbohydrates and we're having sugars in there, and we're indulgent, but we're not getting an excessive amount. And there are also fiber involved. There are also minerals and vitamins and enzymes and things that are also support our health, not only straight sugars, like when you eat a sneaker or when you eat, when you drink the soda. Okay, so when you're doing that exercise, looking the amount of sugar in the labels, I want you to also look at all these names. You can take a picture of this, all the names that you can find that we don't even know they are sugar. And some products may have 2 or 3 sugars as first ingredients. When you're reading labels, and we have a whole class for that, the first ingredients are the ones with the highest amount. So when you go to ingredients in the back of the product, it starts with brown sugar, and then it has sucrose, that's another sugar, and then it has nectars or maltose. You know that those 3, 4 are already sugars, and they're at the beginning of the list. So that means that it has a higher amount in the product. So also names have cane juice, evaporated corn sweetener, crystal dextrose, glucose, liquid fructose, sugar cane juice, fruit nectar. All those things are sugars. High fructose corn syrup solids, anhydrous dextrose. All those things are names that you can find in those products. That's why when I'm teaching you to read labels, I recommend you to avoid products that have these names and these words that you don't understand what they are, because they can be fats and sugars and things that are not supportive of your health, even more now that you're pregnant and you want to have a healthy and glowing and happy pregnancy for your baby to grow as he should be. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about salt. There's a lot of also debate about how much salt you should get. So you do not need to restrict your salt intake unless your doctor recommends it for a specific reason. You should salt your food to taste. Avoid packaged high sodium artificial food. So this all comes to the same conclusion. The conclusion is moderation and homemade food. Okay, so moderation and homemade. Because when you make your meals and your treats and your beverages at home, you are controlling what you put in it. And Hokabel just asked me a question. We can get products that do not add sugar, right? Example, juices. So unfortunately, it's very rare to find juices that has no added sugar. And remember, if I make you an apple juice, it will have the fructose naturally from the apple. So just by making an apple juice, you can have 14 or 20 grams of natural sugars, which is the fructose. This is what I want you to understand. When you drink that apple juice, that glucose, fructose that converts into glucose goes straight to your blood. You're not eating the apple with the fiber and all the other nutrients. Maybe if you make it at home, you can get more nutrients and you drink it immediately, but you're still depriving your body from the fiber. So to be honest with you, instead of eating 100% fruit juices, which is the one that you should be selecting, 100% fruit juice, you should be eating the fruit instead. Or making a juice at home that you can combine maybe apples and carrots, maybe some lemon juice, and then you can get that combination of nutrients and reduce the amounts. And you know there's nothing else in there. It's pure juice. Okay, so I hope I answered your question, Hokabel. Yes, so juices has a high content of sugar, and that's very confusing. But unfortunately, some of them have the fruit sugars and added sugar to make it even sweeter. So you get to look at the amount of sugar in those products. Okay, so we're talking about salt. Salt helps your body to retain the fluid you and your baby need. So use iodized salt as opposed to sea salt, since your body needs the extra iodine to preserve the function of your thyroid gland. Salt is not to blame for some ailments, like most women have some swelling in their hands and feet during the last months of pregnancy, and salt intake is not to blame. So yes, that's a little bit of truth about sugar. Of course, again, high sodium packaged food is not good for you. Over salting the foods while you're cooking it, it's not good for you. Salt to taste when you're eating, preferred. Okay. So what can you do today? Replace your sugars completely. Sweeten cereals and oats with fresh or dried fruits. Enhance foods with spices instead of sugar. Try ginger, allspice, cinnamon, or nutmeg. Switch out sugar with unsweetened applesauce in recipes. So it is unfortunately, but sugar is in so many things that we normally eat that adding extra with packaged foods, that's where we get into trouble. And in drinking the sugar that goes straight to our blood and it gets stored as fat. So cut back on the amount of sugar added to things you eat or drink regularly, like cereal, pancakes, coffee, or tea. Try cutting the usual amount of sugar you add by half and wean it down from there. You know, when you're ready, you should be tossing the table sugar, syrup, honey, and molasses when you're ready. And I'm gonna be very honest with you. I have done that. And when you start cleaning your palate and eliminating the sugar, the white sugar that you put in stuff, you're gonna start finding and tasting how sweet things really are. Really are. When I eat my oats with just fruits and nuts and maybe some cinnamon and spices, maybe a little bit of ginger or cardamom, I can taste the flavor in everything and I can enjoy it and it tastes sweet. But it's not going to happen when you start, after you have been overloading your senses and your taste buds, and your body is accustomed to that high sugar level in everything you eat. It takes time. And I don't want you to stress. I don't want you to get overload of all this information. I want you to get the knowledge and do a few things at a time and start progressing, cutting back, cut the serving back. When you're baking cookies, brownies, or cake, cut the sugar called for in the recipe. What I usually do is I cut all the sugars from all the recipes in half. And some of them I change them, or maybe, dry fruits or applesauce, or a puree of vegetables or fruits. So eat fruits instead of candies or sugary desserts. Avoid canned fruits with syrup, or if you have them, rinse and stray them. These are simple things that will help you cut back, and they're not as dramatic. Cutting half of the sugar if you're baking it, substituting, eating candies and sugary desserts from fruits. And maybe you can have your apple and put a little bit of coconut sugar or maple syrup and some spices and bake it in the oven. Tastes amazing. Maybe bake a pear. You can cook a pear in apple juice, and it's natural. It's your fresh apple juice or natural pear. You can leave it with the skin and then cook it slightly with that juice, and then you can eat it. It's very sweet. You can put a little bit of yogurt on top. The yogurt, natural yogurt, has sweets as well, has sugars as well. I'm sorry. And you will start cleaning your palate, and you will start enjoying the natural sugars that those foods have. And again, I should put this in everything at the beginning, because why homemade is best is clear. You are in control of what ingredients you intake and the amount of sugar you consume. You will have more variety. You can mix and match, and you can make your own. You can make the things the way you like it. And you're saving the environment, right? Making things at home, you are really, really making an impact in your health and in the health of your kids. So I always tell you that knowledge is only potential. When you take an action, that's where the power comes. So whatever you learned today, I just want you to ask yourself, what is one thing I can do now? I don't want you to do everything. This is informational for you, so you are educated health seeker for yourself. So, but what is one thing that you can do now that can make a change? And write it down in your journaling. If you are journaling, I hope you do. So you take notes from the classes and your thoughts and what is going on, and make it a goal for this week. So this is the class for today. I hope you have learned something new and you had enjoyed it, and see you next week, dears.